Okay, here we are back, and we are going to be coloring our picture. Where we left off, I had labeled each of the shapes to do different colors, and it doesn't matter what colors, you just want to balance so it unifies. And you, a lot of times we call it repetition, you want to repeat colors. So however you've laid it out, make sure you do repeat colors a little bit, and you can try to find out a good balance and pick your favorite colors. If you want to repeat them more, you can have those appear more in the picture. But for example, I have green, 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 blue, 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 and notice how they're kind of all spread out. Red, red, so on. So once you've drawn your design, I didn't show you doing that, but I'm going to have you outline your whole design in black before you start coloring. And if you have a marker, a permanent marker, a thick permanent marker, do it a marker if you can in the permanent, and it gives kind of a little bit of a cleaner line than the crayon. The crayon sometimes has a chunky, a little bit broken up line. So if you have marker and want to do that in the marker to begin with, go ahead and do that. Also, the advantage of doing it in marker is if you do this all in black to begin with, when you color and you're coloring up to a black line, your crayon's going to pick up the black from the black crayon. And so when I'm coloring my yellow section, if I color right up to the black crayon, the yellow is going to mix with the black, and I'm going to end up with kind of a dirty yellow. And I mean, it'll be okay. It'll create streaks, but it won't be as pure of a color, and you might not like that. So it just depends what you want to do. If you don't have a marker, just outline it darkly with pencil. Don't do the black crayon at all. And then when you finish coloring the whole thing, you can come back and do the black crayon when you're not going to be blending the colors, when you're all done blending the colors. And then that way the black crayon will be nice and clear. When we have done this in the past, normally I would have you do it, we would do oil pastels, and I'll show you the oil pastel one that I had. Here's an oil pastel, but see how the black is picked up in there, and you might like it, you might not like it, but pastel smears a lot easier. So this one, I did the black lines first, and I kind of I regretted that I did the black lines first, so I'm going to wait. On this one, I didn't do the black lines, and I haven't completed the black lines. I just did the black lines in a crayon lightly. When I'm done, I'll come back with pastels actually on this one, and I'll make a nice clean black line, and it will look really nice in the end, kind of like this. So anyway, so that's what I'd like you to do. Just don't do the outline in black crayon to begin with. And you can do it that in the very end. Okay, so I have taken my 64 box of crayons, and I've chosen my favorite colors and left the ones I don't care for so much in the box. So these are my faves. Remember, we want to have a color testing paper a lot of times, so I've got my little color testing paper up here, and that way I'll know I can test blending of colors or test which colors I want to use. Now on this one, we're starting up where I've already begun coloring. I thought it might save a little bit of time. On the apple, this is the shape I chose. On the apple itself, I'm going dark outline on each shape inside the apple, and then I'm going light to the middle. I think on the border, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to go dark on the outside edge of my paper, and I'm going to work my way to the lighter colors when it hits the apple. And that, and I think that will give me a kind of achieve the goal of making it look like the apple stands out better, because it's going to be surrounded by the lighter tones of the color, and it might look like it's glowing or it has a light behind it. So that's my choice of how I'm going to do that, and that's my plan. So I'm already coloring on this section, and that's my yellow section. So I'm going to pick it up there. Remember yellow? I only have 2 yellow crayons in my big 64 box of crayons. So I'm kind of limited. So like as with other projects, I might add some lighter oranges. So I'm just kind of testing some oranges out to see which ones are light, and might kind of go with go with the yellow. So I'm going to go with these two. So I've started out with the outside being a little bit of an orange tone, and I'm going to work to make the lighter colors in the middle, and I'm going to do the brightest yellow in the middle. Remember when we're doing blending of colors, especially with crayon's pretty waxy, so you don't want to go super, super dark if you're going to be blending a color with another color, because it'll be too waxy and then the colors won't blend. So you're going to go back and forth and do it in layers. Okay, so the yellow is not going to be super, super bright, so it's going to be a little bit harder. If you have a yellow crayon and you've used it in the green section, which I had, I might wipe it off with a paper towel. I might get a towel here, wipe the towel up, and I might go like this, like we've done with our pastels, and that kind of cleans off some of the other colors I might have picked up if I don't want it to affect my coloring. So you might have a paper towel handy, or sometimes you can just pick it up wipe it off with your fingers. If you get a chunk of a color, sometimes I can lift that off with my fingernail too if it's bothering me. But the yellow's a hard one. It's because it's so light to begin with, and you're not going to see a lot of color changes with that. So I'm going to try to mix a little orange with that and kind of do a little bit of a subtle change. And I'm not going to go super dark orange in the end. And I can do orange and then overlap the orange and yellow back and forth together. I can come back with this kind of hay colored yellow, and you'll see how it's affecting the orange. I've got the orange drawn first, but see how it's a little bit of a richer golden color. So it really doesn't look orange, but I'm just using the orange to enrich the shade of my yellow. So I maintain a pretty yellow look to this section. And I can go back and forth as much as I want. And generally I'll go color everything in, and then after I'm done coloring the whole thing in, I'll look at the finished piece, and then I will probably come back and say, oh, I think I want a little bit more darkness here. Like I might darken a little bit more. I might bring the orange a little bit tighter, but I'm going to wait to do that later because I want to get the whole thing done. So I'm done with my oranges. Now I'm going to move to my red section. So I'm going to get my reds out and decide which reds I'm going to do. Remember, pink is in the red family. If I'm painting and I want to make pink and I have red and white, I just take a little bit of red paint and add it to the white, and then I end up with a nice pink. So I've got different shades of pink. I can do, I could do a little bit of an orangey red if I want. So I can go kind of the gamut. Here's like this is called Scarlet, which is kind of in the red family. So I've got quite a variety here. And remember, I don't have to use them all. This is red violet. So it's kind of moving to the violet family. Remember, red and violet are related because violet or purple was made by using red and blue. So, okay, so we're going dark on the outside to light in the middle. So I might line my colors up, dark to lighter. And I'm still going to test them as I go because sometimes it's a little bit deceiving because you're not sure what it looks like. Before I start coloring, this is my R for red. I'm going to make sure I erase that. Normally it won't show up through the crayon, but sometimes it does. And if it does, you can't erase it once it's got the wax coating on top. So I'm going to start with this one. I think it's called Brick Red. So I'm going to go and color with my line. And I'm going to color pretty dark on the outside because so it's chunking up a little bit. And I'm turning my paper because I want to draw right next to the line on the line, and I can see it better when I'm pointing at the line. So that's why I like to do that. So I'm going to bring this red in a little bit inside the shape now, a little bit lighter. so I have some space for overlapping of color. And I'm going to kind of wipe off my chunks because I'm seeing that I just smeared that there. So I want to try to keep away from smearing. So I'm going to try this next color. This is more of a true red. This is actually the red crayon. It's called red. So I'm going to bring that in a little bit. And I'm going to work my way into pinkish tones. This is kind of a lighter pink. And I have all my crayons laid out there, but I still don't have to use all of them. Those are just my available choices of what I think I might use. And a lot of times I make that decision as I go. These pinks might be somewhat similar, so I might not use them all. Like those are pretty close, and I think I like the more pure pink, so I'm going to eliminate this, the one pink, and I'm going to go with a lighter pink here. Okay, so the lightest pink is going to be in the middle there. Okay, and because I eliminated the color, I have a little bit more space, so I'm going to come back with this other pink, and I'm going to come in a little bit farther with this one, leading into the lighter pink. Okay, and I'm somewhat maintaining the shape of what I've got going, and I want it to blend pretty well. Trying to think if there's a darker color that I can. This is a pretty dark color. I'm gonna do some color blending and overlap with a really, it's kind of a violety red, and I'm gonna go on top of the brick red, and I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit to create a new color, a little bit deeper, almost like the burgundy we talked about from other projects. That rich, deep color might look like a cranberry or something. So I'm going to put that right there, and I'm going to come back on top with my brick red. I'm going to bring my brick red and overlap that into my red. And so I'm coming in a little bit tighter with this, and I'm bringing it in a little bit more, and I'm rounding off some of my edges. Okay, now I'm going to come back to my regular red. Keep those guys in order. So my regular reds now encroaching or taking over some of the space of my pink. So I'm going to have to bring my dark pink in a little bit. So here's my, sure I've got my dark, there's my dark pink. So I'm going to bring this one in a little bit tighter. And so I have a smaller area now for my light pink. And I'm going to go a little bit darker now on that light pink area. And it's blending pretty well. If you do have oil pastels, go ahead and use the oil pastels if you have them at home, because I actually think they're a little bit, remember we talked about the qualities of the materials, they're silkier, they're smoother, kind of have a velvety look in the end, and the colors blend a little bit better because they're not so waxy. Okay, so I'm done with that section there. So now I'm going to start doing the borders. So I'm going to put my red guys back in my tray, and I think I'm going to go to blue. So blues, one of my favorite colors. I've got lots of blues, so I'm going to decide what I'm going to use. That's a nice dark one. I'll put the dark pile over here. That's the lightest, so he's going to stay over on the side. That's kind of a teal. I like that. This one's also, it's kind of a teal, but it's a lighter teal, so I'm going to put that in between. Now this one's more of a greenish teal. So there's a lot of similar colors that I can eliminate. This is a deeper teal. I'm not sure I'm going to use that guy or not. This one's kind of a dull color, so I'm going to eliminate that guy. That one's just your basic blue, so I'm definitely going to keep him. And I'll put him somewhat in the middle. Here's another teal. So it's like I've got some choices on the teals of what I want to use. Ooh, that's a nice dark one. So that'll be my super dark color. That one, I'm using a lot of these colors. I like them all. Okay, that one's kind of a blue, so I'll put that on the far end. So I have them from dark to light, and I'm going to put them over there in that order. So I'm going to do this section first. So I'm going to erase my B so it's nice and clean. And my plan is to go light to dark. So I'm going to start with the light first. So remember, I'm going to color with the line. So instead of coloring against the line where I can get in my green section and I'm going back and forth like this, I'm going to color with the line here to begin with, just to prevent me from going in the territory I don't want to go. So I'm going to put a little bit of that. And then after I get this line, this a nice clean area, I'm going to color this direction. So that's my plan. So I'll show you what that might look like. And I'm just going to do some subtle shading because I want it to almost look like it's bursting out from behind my shape, behind my apple. So I'm going to keep these in order of what I'm using just so I know which one I use next. And I'm doing it super, super light to begin with. And, this is more of that teal color. I kind of have a feeling as far as the space goes that I'm going to not be able to use every one of these colors. This is my plain blue, so I definitely want to use this. I'm going to overlap that. So I'm just doing a little bit of a layout of what the colors are. So notice I'm not totally filling them in all the way. I'm just seeing who I can fit, that I can fit them all in. This one's kind of a dull color, so I'm going to put this one aside too because I don't know that he's that different. This is a nice, rich teal color. I like that a lot. And this one's called Cerulean Blue. I'm finding in a lot of the projects, especially the color projects we've been doing, that I definitely have my favorites. So this is kind of a deep, almost a navy blue, and it's going to lead into the darkest area, which is going to be kind of a purplish blue. Okay, so I have my layout of the colors of light to dark. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it this way because I think I might have a little bit more control. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker on the very outside edge here, but I'm coloring from the outside edge in instead of coloring like this and like this. I'm going to color like this. So I'm holding my paper so I don't bend my paper or rip it or fold it. So it's a little bit difficult just on the very outside edge here of my paper, but I want it to have that shaded look of going this direction. So notice I have my placemat, my black placemat here, which protects my table. And especially if I'm using markers or permanent markers. And if you're working on a wood table, that wood is going to absorb. It's going to drink up the liquid of the marker. And for crayon, it'll just get wax all over the table and the color. You might be able to clean it up, but I think I already used that one. So yeah, as you're coloring, you don't have to show the direction or the line patterns, but I'm kind of wanting to do it for this way, but you don't have to. You can color in a way where you really don't see the lines in the layers. I'm kind of creating a little bit of a pattern in my style of coloring. And sometimes I'll plan it. I'll know what the materials do and how they work. Sometimes I don't know, and I'll just be doing it. I'm like, a certain effect will be happening, and I'll decide if I like the effect or don't like the effect. Or oftentimes I'm surprised when I'm using different media, and I think, oh wow, that's really a fun thing. The way I can use that, or the way it works, and blending colors and so on. So. So I'm gonna, now that I have the whole thing somewhat colored, I'm gonna be doing a little bit more overlapping of shades and a little bit of this lighter blue into that area. I'm gonna come back with the super dark kind of the purpley blue, and I'm going to make it even darker. I'm holding it this way right now because I want to look at my, sometimes if we get too carried away coloring in a section, we're coloring upside down or we're coloring sideways. We don't really know the effect or the look. So partway, sometimes I'll turn my paper because it's easier to color a certain way, but I want to, every once in a while, turn it right side up and see the effect it's having, see if I like what it looks like. Because this is how my picture is going to be hanging on the wall. It's not going to be hanging on the wall like this or upside down. So oftentimes I will, stop, check it out and see how does it look. And I'll adjust some things maybe in my shadings. So, all right, that's good. I like the effect of the dark on the outside coming to the light. So I'm going to go ahead and wind it down a little bit. I might come in, I might do the plain blue and overlap it a little bit with that turquoise. So this is my plain blue, and I'm going to kind of transition out of the purplish blue into the turquoise blue and eliminate a little bit of the white that's kind of in between. And then I'll come back with the turquoise and do a little bit of overlap onto the regular blue and kind of bring it to the lighter points. So I think I'll stop there. I think I might keep these in order so I will remember how I did them. So I'm putting my tray somewhat in order. Okay, my next section is going to be, I think I'll do the one right next to it. This is orange. I'm going to go back to my orange, guys. And so here's my oranges, and I've got them dark to light. I think I won't test them all because I'm pretty familiar with what they do and what their colors are. So I'm going to clean up the edge there. I'm going to erase my O. O is for orange. And my lightest orange, this is kind of a peachy color. I'm going to go ahead. It's kind of peachy and kind of pinkish, so it's a little bit in both families. And when you think of the color wheel, this is an orange section. Orange comes by mixing red and yellow. And pink comes when you mix red, maybe in white. And so peach like the fruit, the peach. It's kind of a pinkish tone, but it has a little bit of an orange flavor to it. So it's kind of in between. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go dark to light still, but I'm going to go with my darkest crayon, which is the Scarlet. And I'm going to start this way. It'll color a little bit easier. I'm going to color off the edge of the paper here. And so I'm going to see my lightest and my darkest. And just so I know what I'm working with color-wise. So there's my darkest and there's my lightest. And then I'm going to work my way a little bit in the dark section, do some overlap. This is more of this is actually a red-orange. So it's kind of coming out of the red family, going into the orange family. And we'll go to just, this is plain orange. And I'm not totally coloring super heavy yet because I'm still working on my layout. This one is yellow orange. And it's pretty light too. That's pretty light as well. I'm not sure what this one is. This one is called, that's our good old macaroni and cheese. Designed to make us hungry. The minute I read that title, I think of how I must really be hungry, and I'm probably starving and going to stop and go eat something, but I'm not going to. I'm going to power through this and dream about macaroni and cheese or my chocolate mint ice cream when I'm in the green section. Okay, so keep going back up in the colors and just accent the a little bit darker, a little bit darker, a little bit darker. Just keep working my way up. And this is my true orange. This plain old orange. So that's going to land kind of in the middle. Get a little bit of chunks here, so I'm going to wipe them off so they don't affect the whole rest of the picture. This is a little bit deeper orange. This is my red orange. Yep. I'm holding my paper pretty firmly, especially on the edge, because I don't want to catch it off the edge here because I'm coloring against the edge of the paper, especially on this outside. So sometimes when I'm doing the outside, I'm going to just color off the page instead of going back and forth. I might go back and forth a little bit, but I just have to be careful I don't rip the edge of my paper. So all right, I think that's a pretty good blend. Got lots of chunks on the edge of this. Get that off there. Lots of wax buildup. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. It's giving me that effect I want to have. So put my oranges over here back in order. So now next one's going to be greens. I've eliminated my greens to less than before. So I'm going to put them in my dark to light order of what I think is going to be light to dark. So I'm going to erase my G for green. And my lightest, I think my lightest is going to be the minty green. So here we are thinking about food again. So I had my macaroni and cheese, and then after that I'm going to have my mint chip ice cream from Baskin Robbins, which is my favorite. So, and I'm going to blend that into, this is going to end up being kind of a yellow green coming out of my mint green. So this reminds me of springtime and new growth spring grass and the sprouts of leaves on the trees in the springtime seem to have a kind of a yellow, brighter, fresher look to them. I think that's why springtime is one of my favorite times of year, because of the pretty greens and all the bright colors that start coming out, and all that new beginnings, new growth. And it's fun to go outside. Darkest, this is kind of an army green, but I think it's probably called, it's a forest green. It's not super dark. I wish it was a little bit darker, but I'll just do some layers. Sometimes if you want to darken certain colors, if I wanted to make green paint a little bit darker, I might actually add some black paint to it, but I wouldn't want to add a lot. So I could maybe try, and I'd probably try it on my paper on the side first. I could try mixing a little black if the green wasn't dark enough. I don't think I need to, but sometimes you can do that to darken a color. But it doesn't always work with every color. If you mix black paint and yellow, it's not going to make the yellow darker. It's going to make the yellow turn kind of a greenish color. Oops, that's the wrong one. I'm going to go with the lighter. So if you make a mistake like I just did, I'm just going to probably make that little line darker all the way across there, and I think that'll solve that problem I just created. So I'm going to do some color mixing now. When I do the yellow green on top of the mint green, it's going to create a new color. So all along the way, I'm creating new shades as well as using the ones that the crayon company created. They've created colors, and then I'm taking theirs and making some new colors out of that. This one's called Granny Smith Apple. Kind of looks like that bright green apple. So something maybe a little bit healthier than the ice cream. So these first 3 greens are pretty light. I only have 2 greens that are going to be somewhat dark, so I'm going to have to do layers of shading and coloring with them. So I want to keep that effect of, it's like a bursting forth, like there's light coming out from behind my shape. So I'm going to take this green up a little bit farther because I'm going to mix this green with my with the forest green, and I think that's going to create a little bit of a richer dark color, because the forest green's a little bit, it has a little bit more of a duller effect. And the corner's kind of hard to do, so I'm holding that down. Remember, you don't have to color off the page like that. If you want to color like this, it would make it a little bit easier, but I'm just happen to be going for a special effect. Okay. So I'm going to bring this down and kind of correct my little mistake here where I went super dark on the edge in that area. So I'm just going to do a little bit of darkness on this edge, and I might do a little bit of darkness over here to make it look like I didn't totally make a big mistake. So I'm just going to enhance that edge a little bit. Okay, so I think that's a good stopping point there for that. So the next one is going to be, this one's supposed to be yellow, that one's going to be purple, and that one's going to be green, this one's going to be blue, red. I know I want this one to be blue, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do this one because I'm not sure if I want to. I might want to switch a couple colors. This one's going to be yellow and it's small, so that's probably good. Purple's going to be there. Let's do the purple. I'm going to turn it this way so I can get my purples out. I haven't done purple yet in this sitting, so get what I think is my darkest to lightest. Okay, so lightest purple. I'm going to have, this is kind of a dull lavender. I'm going to decide which lavender I want. I think I don't want to use that one. And then this one's kind of a pinkish lavender. So I'm going to go with the pinkish lavender. I erase my P here, and I'm going to go with a little bit lighter here. It's kind of a pinkish purple. And I'm going to go around my leaf. I'm not going to color my leaf in at this point. The leaf is going to be, I haven't decided what color I'm going to do my leaf. I decided I would just wait and do the whole apple shape first, and then I will decide what I'm going to do with my leaf. Now, when I do this other lighter color, it's pretty close to that. So I'm going to kind of play around with a little bit of a blend just for this light section. Yeah, this is going to take you a little bit of time coloring. If you don't want to watch me color the whole time and you know what you want to do, don't feel that you have to watch this. I'm going to go with the darkest one here right now so I can kind of figure out my space, but don't feel like you have to watch the whole thing. I'm just doing it in real time. I want you to see the whole complete project, and I actually haven't done the complete one in crayon ever. I've done it with the oil pastel, so I want to do it just to see how long it's going to take, and it kind of gives me a gauge because I usually write down and record how long something is going to take, and then that'll give you or sometimes your teachers an idea, and I can tell you how long I think it's going to take. And if you want to stop and start this video, or you want to fast forward and you don't want to watch the whole thing, it's okay with me. But I just want to show you what to do. And I do want to do a good job. I don't want to totally rush through it. So it's finding that balance. Okay, that's my darkest one. This is probably my pinker one. Yeah. And these pink ones are kind of similar, the pinkish purple. So how close they are. I'm going to do a check of those. Yeah, this one's a little bit darker, so I'm going to go with this a little bit lighter pink one in here. I want to make sure I save the space for my light purple or lavender. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my darkest purple. I'm going to go, because I know this is my dark one. If I want to, like just on the very edge, if I don't make it too obvious, sometimes you can have that subtle thing, so I don't want to be going off the page the whole time and have all those chunks of wax. So I might go like that lightly and then color against that. Then I don't have to fight on the edge of that paper so much. Kind of keep going off and on. So this might work a little better, but I still want that bursting light effect. So I'm gonna, once I do the edge, I'm gonna still color in the direction that I originally started doing. A little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit darker on this edge here next to the blue, just because the blue is also a dark color. It's not like I'm going against yellow or pink. So I'm gonna go back with my lavenderish color. Do a little bit more of a layer there. And enhance that a little bit more. And then come in with this, enhance my pinky purple a little bit more and blend that in. Getting some chunks. I'm going to get rid of some of those chunks. And if you want to go, you can, it doesn't have to always maintain within the title of a color. I can go from one section, I could do red to orange to yellow in one piece of my pie here. I don't have to have it be just purple and just green. I can just do my colors in any blended order I want that I think will work. Okay, so I'm back to green here, and I still like that color order, I think. And then this one's going to be blue, and that'll make the greens. I could put the green here, and I could put the blue here. That would make it match there, but I think I'm going to just stay with it with the green. So I'm going to do the green here. And as you're repeating colors, I think you're going to find you're going to already know the shades of the colors and know what works and know your order. So I think it will go a bit faster because you're not having to make plans because you've already tried something and you already know the formula or the recipe of what you're doing or the order in which you're doing them. So it will go faster as you're going. Okay, so that's my light. And I'm going to go to my yellow green. So I went from my mint chip ice cream to yellow green, beautiful springtime grass and new leaves, to my Granny Smith apple. It also tastes really good. Granny Smith apples are the really tart tasting ones, a little bit of sweet and sour, and they taste really good with that caramel that you can dip them in because it's good contrast of super sweet caramel with a little sour apple and makes for another good treat. So on the last time I did the green, regular green, and then did forest green overlapping with it. So I already know that I like mixing those two colors. So I'm gonna get that chunk off. So I'm going to forego just doing the forest green by itself. Got another color in there. I'm gonna lift that chunk up. Yeah, I have nice long fingernails, so sometimes if I have a chunk of another color, I can actually just scrape it off. So sometimes if you get a chunk, like if I get a chunk of green and the red, I could take a paper clip or something and just kind of gently scrape it off so it doesn't smear in and get colored. So go a little bit darker with make sure I have my chunks off. Remember, if I think I'm getting colors on it, I can wipe my crayon clean so it doesn't put other colors on here that I don't want on here. Okay, I'm going to blend a little bit of this mint into my yellow green. And I'm going to enhance that a little bit more. A little bit heavier with my Granny Smith and overlap the Granny Smith on top of some of my yellow green. And then I'm going to go a little bit heavier with my regular green to intensify that. And I've got more space in the corner here, so I might kind of adjust how far I go because the shape I'm working within. And here's my forest green. And sometimes I find with the crayons, you might have chunks, and then sometimes when you color with the crayon super hard, you might be lifting up some of the wax buildup. So it's a little bit trickier than using the pastels. Okay, all right, I will stop at that point. And next one is going to be blue. So I'll get my blue guys out. The blue family is the bigger family because I have lots of shades of blue and I like almost every one of them. So, all right, so darkest blue. So that one's over there. Lightest blue. Right here, so that's my sky blue. So I'm going to color with the line to begin with. And color with the line on this side and then do a little bit of my light burst coming out from there. And then my next one is kind of that tealish, light teal blue. Excuse you. No hiccups. I'm working in the room here with my daughter, and she's working on art projects while I'm working on art projects, which makes it pretty fun. And that's that nice, a little bit deeper teal. So this is a little bit smaller space, shorter space than I did on the other side of the paper originally. Then I have more space here than space to here, so I might condense some of my colors. So I'm going to go to my deepest, darkest blue on the edge here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and color along the edge of this like this. And then I'm going to make this a smaller area and see. I might want to eliminate some colors or just make the sections a little bit smaller, narrower, leading to the middle because I have less space. That's that teal. This is kind of a deep one too. So I'm going to put this super purpley dark line just on the very, very edge. It's the darkest. And then here's my regular blue. I'll have my regular blue coming out of there, and then I think I'll lead into that cerulean blue that I really like, which is actually one of my favorites. So I'm going to probably end up doing a lot of overlapping in this one. So here's my, that nice intense, kind of in between turquoise and regular blue. Kind of a teal turquoise. Okay, so then I can come back with my regular blue and go a little bit heavier, leading into that. Overlap a little bit of that and create a new little bit different color. Lots of chunks. Get rid of those, some of those. And continue with my layers and kind of eliminate some of that lighter, those white spaces in there. But this actually seems like it's taking more time than the pastels. You could do it in chalk pastels too, but I think it would be harder to control, and you don't always have as many colors. Chalk pastels, they call them soft pastels. It's basically colored chalk, and they have, you can buy super expensive ones that the quality's a little bit better, or you can just actually use colored chalk sometimes to do some blending. It blends really well. You can blend it with your finger and just kind of smooth the colors, one color to another. And you could do that, but I think the colors won't be as intense. Oil pastels, the colors are much more intense, and the crayons are going to be more intense. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, this is where I was thinking, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I've got this one red, and it's kitty corner to that. I've got this one yellow, which would be that color being there. And I've got this green. I could do this red and that one green, which I might do that. And then red and yellow would be next to each other. Yeah, I think I might do that because the red's pretty close. So I'm going to do a switcheroo here. I'm going to make this one green and this one red. So I've got blue, green, blue again, red, and yellow. So I don't know. I'm debating. I don't know. When you've looked at something a long time, you're not sure. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with that. So blue, green, blue. So green, blue, green, red, yellow, green. Okay, we'll go with that. All right, so this one's going to be green. So we're going back to our green plan, and that's pretty easy. We know what that is. So light green going up to the edge here. I still haven't decided what I want to do my leaf color. If we were in class and I was actually showing you how to do this, I'd be asking what color you guys think I should do my leaf. I don't want to do it green because everybody would expect that the leaf would be green because leaves are generally green. I could do it a dark green, but I want to do it a different color just for fun. So it's not so predictable, and it's not like I'm trying to make it realistic because I've never seen an apple with all those colors. So there's no use in trying to make it totally realistic because it's not going to be. So I have quite a bit of space here, so I can spread this out a little bit. I might do a little bit more of my, might leave a little space to do that. Granny Smith a little bit deeper into my regular greens. I've got my good, do my borders. Come back with my forest green and overlap here. Even if I'm not coloring off the page, I still have to hold it pretty firmly when I'm coloring because I'm coloring really heavy with the crayon. And sometimes if I don't secure my paper, I end up bending, sometimes tearing my paper accidentally just because I got super involved and then all of a sudden my paper started tearing. So Granny Smith is what I want. I'm gonna overlap some of this Granny Smith into that regular green since I have all this extra space, and then mix Granny Smith into the yellow green. A little bit more. And enhance my yellow green, overlap it into my mint green. And then I'm going to go a little bit more of this directional coloring so it creates that starburst effect. Okay, almost done. So now I'm going to do red, and then that'll be yellow. I'm going to do the yellow first, I think. I haven't done yellow for a while. So I'm going to lift a little bit. I got a little bit of blue over there. Crayon doesn't normally erase real well. A lot of times you pick up the crayon and it smears with the eraser, but sometimes you're lucky you can lift a little bit off. This is a small section, which I chose it that way. I chose it to do the yellow because we don't have a lot of color changes in the yellow crayon. I can go yellow to orange, and I can do as much orange in this section as I want. I don't have to keep it just yellow. So I might make it a little bit more extreme because you know how we're going light to dark, dark to light. I think I'm gonna be so bold as to just put actual dark orange on the outside of this yellow, because I think that's the darkest form of something that fits in the yellow family on this edge, because I want it to be super dark on the outside. The reason a lot of times I like to do darkness, we did this in one of our pictures with the sky. I like to have dark on the outside of my picture, sometimes even when it's a landscape. What it does is it naturally frames the picture. It creates a nice outline. And when we talk about, we've talked about viewers or people looking at our art and viewing our art, how we want them to jump in our picture, but we want to keep them in our picture. We don't want them to just look at our picture and say, well, that's boring, I'm moving on to the next picture. You want to grab their attention. You want them to be attracted to your art piece, but you want to kind of keep them inside. And to some degree, that framing just causes your brain to jump in here and stay in there a little bit longer. And gives it a nice border. And I could actually frame it with an actual frame, and then that even gives it more of a nice border, and it enhances the picture a lot of times. Okay, almost done. My last section is red. It's down here, so I'll get my red family out. Erase my R and go with my pink. Pencil line here. Okay, and then I'm going to go with, it's my deepest one. I'm going to go with brick red on the outside here. And if I had more space, I could go from pink to red to purple if I wanted. I don't have to just keep it in the one family. Remember, I can go from one family to the other because they're like cousins. They're related because they have similar family history. Because orange and red both have red in them. Okay, this is violet red. I'm going to put that on that outside edge to make it a little bit darker even. Okay, then I'm going to go with my plain old red, and I'm going to double check which one's darker. Yeah, it's kind of a pink, so I'm going to go with my plain old red, just basic red. Leave a little space because I've got this other kind of a pinkish tone. Oh, this is called wild strawberry. I had strawberries for breakfast today. I love strawberries. Strawberries are really good in salads. They're really good on vanilla ice cream. They're really good by themselves. They're really good with sour cream and brown sugar. The first time I ever heard of that, I thought, that's crazy. That sounds horrible. Sour cream and sweet and sugar, but it's really good if you haven't tried that. That's a good one. Okay, so here I am. Now, what color do we want to do my leaf? What's going to show up? What do you think, Jenna? Thinking maybe I'll do it orange. What about the yellow orange in there? Yeah. I think the green, I wouldn't do green. Red's too close to purple, and I've got a lot of blue. So I'm going to go with orange red. So I'm going to get some of my oranges out and check them out and maybe do a little yellow mixed in. So I've got my oranges, and I like that yellow orange kind of. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to do the outside. I'm going to do it light because I don't know how many colors I want to do, but I'm going to go dark to light. And wear this color. This is my orange, and then I'm going to go to yellow orange. It's a small space, so I don't really have a lot of space to do it. And then I'm going to go to the yellow. Okay, so that's a good blend. I'm going to go back with a little bit deeper on that one edge here. And a little bit heavier with this one. Oops, got a little bit of a dark color. Didn't clean my crayon very well. I'm going to lift that up. Clean that up a little bit. Bring that back in there. Do my dark, bright yellow. And I'll come in with this enhanced yellow. Golden to brighten up that whole orange section. And I've got a little bit of that stem. Maybe I'll just do that the same color. I don't know that I want to introduce a new color with that. So I'm going to make that just kind of I'll go with that kind of deeper yellow for that. Okay. All right. So my crayons, put them away. If I have extra debris, I'm going to gently wipe that away. And then I'm just going to look at it, evaluate it a little bit. If there's anything I want to go back, if I want to darken up the edges of anything, like this one's pretty dark and this one's not. So I might come back and say, I have all this space. I want to make the green a little bit more intense in the corner here to give that frame look because I have all that space. So I might go in here and do a little bit more of an overlapping back and forth with some of the regular green and my forest green. And I won't do this on the whole thing. I just notice this one is more space and it could afford to have a little bit darker, but I can keep working with this, and I won't keep you here with me the whole time with that, but I can go with other shapes other than just this one. I'll go back to that Granny Smith there, but I'm just going to enhance this a little bit more since it's probably my lightest one. I think all the rest of them are, I think I'm pretty happy with the blends of them all. But anyway, so look at all the crayon that got on my placemat, but my table's nice and clean. So don't forget your placemat. But okay, I think we're good. So have fun. Remember to pick a shape that's an obvious, recognizable shape, not a circle, because people won't know what it actually is. It could be a ball, it could be an orange, it could be something that nobody really knows. So pick a shape that's very distinct and then break it up, divide it up, and that's our Cubism, Dine, Picasso project. Can't wait to see your pictures.